Other interesting cultural news, you have Captain Marvel, yet another signature Disney flop. It is one of those fascinating things where Disney used to be a blue chip stock. Again, I'm not a doctor, but if you click the subscribe button, it may cure my stuttering. It's a theory I'm working on, and it may very well bear some fruition, as they might say. Now, Disney used to be considered a blue chip stock, especially when I was a child. I was very unusual. I was interested by business and finances even at a young age. Now, a blue chip stock is really something that you consider just kind of a sure bet, so to say. You knew that unlike a tech company, where tech companies are very well known for big spikes or it might go up really quick, but then they might go down. They fluctuate a lot more. But Disney used to be very consistent, so you're not going to get rich overnight if you bought Disney stock, but consistently it would grow over time. Hence blue chip stock. Now they've lost about $2 billion on the past 13 movies they've made. They're bleeding money every single time, nearly. Not just by a couple. I've never seen a company fail this bad. Well, perhaps that'd be a point of contention. Bud Light versus Disney. The battle of the ineptitudes. Who is the business blunder of the century? That might warrant some further investigation. Now, this is thanks to an article from boxofficepro.com, which A+ for marketing. I know exactly what they're doing as a website without having to look at a Wikipedia page or further research. Now, it looks like 2020. This is coming from an article by the name of Sean Robbins. And let me know, would you be interested or would you prefer or appreciate a picture-in-picture when I'm referencing articles? And again, if you have suggestions for software for production, I appreciate those suggestions as well, as I'm trying to find a new one where we can actually do video and video or picture-in-picture while I'm making it, as opposed to post and then doing it in edit, which I would say is above my pay grade and complexity just because I'm doing it all myself right now, and I appreciate the tips. And some of these things, I'm using Blackmagic DaVinci for the editing software currently, but in terms of the time maximization and trying to get you the product as soon as possible, I want to try to do it during production. So that's probably too long, didn't read, or too much of a backstory, so to say, but that's kind of the reasoning behind my ideas. Now, this is from Shauna, and they're saying, really, this is the projections. Opening weekend range 50 million to 75 million. Now, let's see here. It's one of those things where, again, this is a Marvel film, so it's one of those things. I think the periods of time where some films are really knocked out of the park and some just fail epically. Marvel used to, Disney bought them. That was a smart acquisition until they just ran into the ground. They used to print money as well. I mean, it was pretty much a sure thing. It would be, $1 billion hit, $1 billion, lots of revenue, easy money. Throw in Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, throw in Robert Downey Jr. and a couple of other actors, throw on some CGI suits, and $1 billion. And explosions and perhaps a story or plot line. Allegedly, I hear they have those. I don't really know how much evidence there is of that, but they used to make billions of dollars, but then, very similar to Star Wars, they saturated the market, I believe, with so much volume of production, they just lost all value. So now there's just so many, does it really matter if you don't see this one? As opposed to back in the day, there might just be one good Marvel movie a year, and it's going to be a big one, so you have more incentive to go out and see it. And in terms of the actual numbers, the release dates for this, they're pulling up the cons. They're saying that Marvel Studios brand has hit several bumps on the road of late, despite Guardians of the Galaxy generating strong legs. Initial 118.4 million debut was seen as something of a low-end performance for a well-established brand and beloved sub-franchise. The franchise is quite simply miles away from the zeitgeist, capturing interest and enormous goodwill for that at a time helped every film achieve blockbuster status like Captain Marvel did 4 years ago. The Guardians came in the wake of Ant-Man and the Wasp. I mean, those movies they make. Quantumanium? Okay. Dividing many fans and barely doubling its domestic debut with a 214.5 million final tally, which, again, at that price point, they're losing money. Because these things are, there's so much CGI used, there's so much computing technology, there's so much editing. I can imagine the editing cost on these films. It all adds up. And that's part of the issue that Disney has is their films are just so bloated with cost. The only conceivable way they can make an ROI, which they don't, or a positive ROI, is by having ridiculously high box office success, and they don't. Now, it looks like social media traction for the Marvels has been noticeably weak in recent months, compounded by concerns for the ongoing SAG-AFTRA labor strike. So because of that strike, we cannot have Brie Larson come promote the film, which is a shame because I hear she's a person, apparently. Maybe an actress, perhaps? Another great thing about Hollywood on strike, there's a lot less squawking in the news. There's a lot less celebrities complaining. It's kind of pretty nice, I'm not going to lie. I can't help but wonder how many people really care that there's less volume of stuff coming from Hollywood these days. It'd be a shame if this strike just lasted forever as they fight against the inevitability of AI replacing most of their jobs, since, let's be honest, most big box office movies coming from Disney these days are the embodiment of a photocopy. And a fun little example of life, photocopy metaphor, if you take a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy, every time you do that, the image degrades and gets worse over time, very similar to Disney films in general. As they don't seemingly are out of original ideas, they just copy, and the quality gets worse and worse and worse. So why not just have a computer do that, because you're just doing the same thing again and again. That's the perfect use case for AI is going to be Hollywood. Now, it'll be interesting to see, and again, now there are many suspecting that it's not going to do great because it has, a female as the lead actress, which perhaps, I was going to say, there's a different, it's one of those things where there are some great movies that have female leads. I think probably the best one would be Underworld, was a couple years back, and then Resident Evil. I think those, and then of course Alien is the iconic one that people talk about the most. But I don't know if they can necessarily blame this on that specific variable. I don't know if it's just because they're lazy in doing a copy of Captain America. Although for all I know, no, this might be an original comic book. They made so many throughout the years. It's hard to say what's original these days or what isn't. And they're saying for the trends. Now they say, quote, bearing out all these concerns, initial pre-sales are alarmingly low for a Marvel Studios film. Trends are currently 69% behind the pace of Guardians Volume 3, 72% behind Quantium, and 42% behind Eternals. Which, I had to Google half those terms because I didn't know if they were Magic trading cards or if they were films. But those are, in fact, films that I just mentioned. And, again, I don't know who pre-orders for a movie. I remember I used to do that for video games back in the day because they'd give you a tchotchke or a knick-knack. The Call of Duty gave you like a flag in one case and some little remote-controlled toys. But do people do that for films? I know they do, but do you? Like, I've never met anyone who's done that before. The exception of, I know some folks who did do that for Sound of Freedom. I can't help but wonder who the heck is doing that for a Marvel film. So it'll be interesting to see. It looks like they're on track to, of course, lose money on this, but I guess perhaps that's a better question in terms of where are the Las Vegas odds for a Disney film making money? I mean, certainly it's not 0%, but it might be 0.00000000073%, maybe? Similar to a like ratio for a Bud Light tweet. Let me know in the comments, do you think this movie will shock everyone and actually turn out to be a big hit, makes lots of money, and Disney will be able to reap a profit for the first time in ages? Or do you think it's just going to subsequently crash and burn like seemingly most things in Hollywood these days? It'll be interesting to see, but as I always say, time shall tell. Thank you everyone again for taking the time to tune in. We're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of October, so if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, all the comments are greatly appreciated as well. We try to make the show better and better together. Don't forget to take the time to like the video because it might help with the algorithm. It seems to change on a daily basis of how the magical wizards at YouTube recommend videos or not. But what helps the channel even more out is if you just take the time, and I do appreciate it, take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.